welcome to STRT Over Coffee. My name is Shaquila Smith, and I lead the community and marketing here at STRT. STRT Over Coffee is all about having conversations with creators in the Salt Lake City area. And for this episode, we'll be interviewing Mykel, who is a Utah local artist, and we'll be discussing the music industry and her journey as an artist. So hi, Mykel. How are you today? I'm super excited to have you on the podcast.
I'm super excited to be here. I'm good. I am just
Good.
living the dream out here, trying to make this like post-COVID lifestyle work, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I know it's nice that things are like starting to open up again. It's like making me so antsy. And I love this time of the year, like May and June, because there's just all these events that start popping up
Yes.
and there's more things to do in the city. And I don't know. So yeah, I'm feeling you. Let's start the podcast with everyone listening, getting to know you, who you are as an artist. So tell us about yourself.
Perfect. Yeah, my name is Mykel. I'm a songwriter and artist. Um, Grew up, well, San Diego till I was 12, but then majority of my adolescence I was here in Utah.
Oh, cool.
At 19, went to LA, was there for 5 years, and then COVID brought me back. So I've kind of been connecting with the community here, and the scene has grown so much. So it's cool to do stuff like this and,
Yeah.
get back to the roots.
Cool. Yeah. So how did you start as an artist? Like what made you, I mean, I know some people just know when they're like born and then some people just discover it. Like what was your journey? Like how did you start?
I think for me, it was never a question. Like, it just always was the default of my programming.
Yeah.
So I was always singing. I come from a family of athletes, so they didn't know what to do with me. They just like put me in private voice as soon as I started going because they were like, I don't know. Um, but I started out in musical theater. So like growing up in Utah
Cool.
at that time, like if you sing, that's what you do. So I didn't really discover like my artistry or like the writing element of things until towards the end of high school. I just did a bunch of theater. I trained a ton for vocal work and all of that. And then I was like, you know what? They're giving me all the like pop-ish solos and roles, and I feel like I want to tell my own stories, not other people's stories. Both have their place. I love both still, but
Sure.
then I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm just too into Whitney Houston and Christina Aguilera and
I
like
love
that
that.
lifestyle. I gotta like
Yeah.
see what's going on. So then in high school, I tried to write my first song and then ended up releasing it as like my actual first song ever written was my actual first song released, which was really cool.
Wow. Yeah. No, that's like that is like that takes like another level of confidence, I feel like, in your ability to release your first song that you've ever written to be like your first song to be produced and like out there in the world.
Yeah, and that it wasn't like premeditated in any way. I was connected with a composer who's a producer in LA from a voice coach that I was taking from here in Utah. And I had that I just anything that I'd written I was playing for him just to be like, okay, what can we do? And
Yeah.
that one just really resonated and I was like, okay, great, we're doing it.
I love that. That's so cool. Yeah. So what like you kind of mentioned Christina Aguilera, Whitney Houston. Like, is there any other I don't want to say celebrities because there could be other people that inspired you to make music or, who inspires you to make music?
I mean, on a base level of people, just kind of everyone on my journey, like
Yeah.
everyone who encouraged that and I was taking pieces of knowledge from or inspiration from the whole way. There wasn't like a single person. I will say my voice coach Nancy Baumgardner is the one who connected me to Brandon. That really He's a composer in LA, Brandon Jarrett, and
Yeah.
that's what opened up kind of like the opportunities for me. So like in terms of people who encouraged and kind of paved that way for me, those two come to mind. But musical inspiration, just big vocals are like my thing. I love being loud and in charge and that whole deal. So Christina Aguilera, like I said, Whitney Houston, Celine Dion, any of those
I
huge
love that.
vocals or just big performative sound is kind of what I like.
That's super cool. I mean, like talking to artists, like in general, it's interesting to kind of get a feel of who they look up to because that helps me get like a sense of their style too. I can listen to your music and now that will stick out to me more than
Totally.
before. So like I was just listening to your song Sanity and I was like, "Oh, wow, like now that I think of it now, like you do that. That is your style. You really like the big vocals. I really love that. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's fun.
Cool. Yeah. I want to kind of talk a little bit about the back and forth between LA and Utah. Like,
Mhm.
how is the music scene so different? I mean, it's so different, but what are like the huge differences that stand out?
I mean, it's like, I'm trying to think of like the phrase, but LA is just so cutthroat. Like,
Yeah.
there's, in terms of the underground scene for artists, it's not huge. There's tons of us there, but the community element, I had to work real hard and like go to a lot of just random Facebook events to kind
Yeah.
of like piece together that community. And a lot of people are really starting to up that over there, which is great. Um, Not that it needs upping, but you have such a contrast between like the tops of the tops are out there, so the underground scene gets a little bit clouded in that.
Ah.
Um, but cinematically, like I kind of veered into film because that first producer that I worked with was a composer, so we started licensing my songs to Lifetime movies, to other projects that he was doing. So in finding like the film niche, that's kind of where I landed in the scene in LA. So I can't even really speak to like the people who are out gigging all the time in LA because I was more focused on the film side, and that's where I've kind of planted my roots, which is
Yeah.
really a cool scene to be in and kind of fits my like all the performance stuff I loved about theater,
Sure.
but being able to kind of channel that through the music that is more me.
Yeah.
So that's where I landed there. And then I would say Utah, before I left, the scene was not super big, at least for big pop vocals like me. Like there was tons of like indie people, and then there's like the Deseret Book Clan, and then there's like the theater clan. But coming back, I've loved it. There are so many really cool, really talented people doing so many different genres. Like it's just been awesome coming back. Like I think Utah's growing for sure.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. Like that perspective. It's interesting because I've thought the same thing about LA, just like assuming that it's hard as a local artist, like in that area to
Yeah.
shine through because like all of the advertising and marketing goes to those big celebrities and those
Yeah.
people who have like an incredible budget and whatnot, you know? And so I could totally see that. It's crazy. Utah has grown insanely over the last like even 2 years in
Yeah.
the artist industry. And it's funny because a lot of the creatives I've seen come out from Utah County. um Interestingly enough, like, so I grew up a little bit in Utah County. I was born in
Okay.
Provo.
Nice.
So I mean, like when I was there, it was, I mean, it was like barely even a town. Like,
Right.
it wasn't
Right.
even really a college town yet. But like obviously over the years it's grown and it's insane. But I've been so surprised by how much support there is in the local artist community, even among the artists.
Yeah.
In in Utah County, and it's like funneling through Salt Lake too. It goes back and forth. People are willing to to commute from Utah County to Salt Lake to meet people.
Yes.
I mean, it is so cool. Like that communication is so cool, and that support is so cool. So I mean, Utah is a cool place to be because of the community aspect. It is
Yeah.
so heavily supporting, and I love that for you.
Yeah, and I think
Love
we
that
all
you
kind
gave
of
back.
have, yes, I think we all kind of have that mutual goal as like Utah artists, like,
Yeah.
okay, if we can lift any of us, it lifts all of us. And so that kind of is more
Yes.
the vibe versus LA, where it's like, all right, we're all trying to make it and get our big break, and it's like it's me, like I gotta figure it out type of thing.
Right,
Not that there's
right.
not community. Again, I've found great community there, but just overall as an industry, that's the biggest difference for me.
Interesting. Has your creative process like changed at all from like LA to here? I mean, just because of that, has it changed the way you create music and I mean collaborate with other artists and things like that?
I would say location didn't change the process because I don't produce. I can arrange and get demos
Cool.
together, but
Yeah.
I don't produce my tracks. So I'm always like, okay, I have my personal process for writing, and then I go to a producer and we get it produced, and I like really try and find people that understand what I'm trying to do. So that process is similar here or there. It's just a matter of different people. But COVID is what really changed how that process goes, because everything, I've done so many virtual sessions. I've even done virtual writing camps with writers in Portugal and the UK. So I think it's united songwriters on like a global scale in a way that we always could have, but just never had like the push to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what's changed most in the process for sure.
Interesting. I mean, now even it's funny, like TikTok too probably even like amplifies that. Like just because music and I mean, people are communicating globally more than ever because of COVID. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, the Zoom like events and things like that. For you, since you found like your niche in like the film industry, did it slow down for you? Like as far as music producing wise, did you ever get in like a funk? Was it hard to like did you just or did you keep going? Like film just kept going, so you just kept going and social media? Like was there like anything that
Yeah.
slowed you down?
Well, aside from my own mental
Yeah.
blocks.
Right?
But
Yeah.
no, I think everything about being an artist is very inconsistent. So I wouldn't
Yeah.
say there were like stops. It's more of just moments of different doors, and kind of like when
Mm,
film doesn't have anything for me, I'm really leaning into like my artist projects and releasing different singles,
sure.
or writing for other people, or trying to like kind of maneuver out of each little area as it slows down. But for COVID, it definitely halted for a while. Um, I just signed with Accidental Entertainment like 8 months ago, who was a professor of mine at UCLA, and
Oh, so
so
cool.
so
Congrats.
things have thanks things have
You're
still been
welcome.
moving in terms of pitching, and people are still looking for music. So it hasn't slowed down. It's just kind of a guessing game in terms of how the industry is, where it's like it's not a guarantee.
Yeah.
You could write and pitch and not get placed, or if you have a personal relationship, it's easier because they come to you first, and then you know what you're writing for, and you're writing because they like you.
Interesting. Okay. So it's funny, every artist that I speak to, I learn just so much more about the music industry. I mean, like I think I kind of have a grasp, and then now I'm like, oh wait, maybe I don't. Um, so before you were signed, were you an independent artist then?
Yeah, so I'm
Cool.
still an independent artist. This is just a licensing agency. So
Okay,
they pitch my songs to films. So they don't do
so
development
cool.
or marketing or anything for me. So I'm still independent.
Is that your goal? Just to stay independent?
I think it would be really awesome too, because I
Yeah,
feel like I'm getting a degree in business right now. So I feel like
cool.
I would love to just build my own team of creators that I trust, and creators also from here would be really cool.
Yeah.
But it's all situational. I mean, if an opportunity came and it was someone that I trusted and it was with a label, I'm obviously not going to be like, no, like,
Yeah, right,
no.
right. Keeping the doors open, but
Yeah,
you like being an independent artist as of
yeah.
now.
I like
That's
having
cool.
control of my narrative and the type of content that I want to do. So,
Super cool. Yeah. So, I mean, as an independent artist, what does like your creative process look like? And like, what does it look like when you output like a song or an album? Like, what is the behind the scenes that people don't know?
oh my gosh, so
So much.
much. I'm actually in this process right now because I release a new song next week. But
Yeah.
so once the song's produced, I mean, I guess it depends on your budget, and if there's like funding,
Sure.
great, then that makes it a lot more intense. But for just an independent local release, you gotta. I love music videos. My passion is directing and producing videos, so I always have a
Awesome.
music video. Um, so getting that done, getting that edited, having that sit, then I have a text group that I just started for this new release. So I'm constantly texting a group of people that want to be in the know about the process and the releases.
Mm,
So we got to manage that. We got to manage social media. We got to post about it. We got to get teasers. We have to upload it to DistroKid, get it to ASCAP. It's just,
right.
there's everywhere where it goes. And I have my own publishing company. So I am self published as well, which is helpful.
Yeah, for
um,
sure.
so that is kind of how I roll. You just a lot of managing and uploading and schedules.
A lot of launching. It,
Yeah, a lot of
you know,
graphic designers, a lot of just
yeah,
album artwork, photos, like it's just the whole
sure.
thing.
Yeah, you're like your own marketer.
Mhm.
Um, What are some misconceptions on kind of just being an artist and building your own brand? Like, is there any misconceptions you think? I mean, hearing that is so insane. I mean, it's like your own little team. But what are like some misconceptions as being an artist, you know?
I think two things. And sometimes it's true, but a lot of misconceptions are that artists are very type B, can't like be tied down. Like you get that like they need their manager type of artist.
Sure, yeah.
And those types of creatives exist and they're great. But I do think there are a lot of us that are very business savvy, especially in 2021. You have to be because labels aren't investing in developing anymore. You have to do it yourself, get somewhere, and then they swoop in when they know there's money to be made. So a lot of us are really wearing a bajillion hats. We're running our own companies. We're our own marketing teams. We're our own graphic design. We are the creative team. We're conceptualizing every single visual. So it's a lot more hands-on and time consuming than people realize, especially because 90% of us have side jobs also.
Yes.
So like
Yes.
I teach voice, I have a side job, and then I'm also in school. So it's just a never ending stream of chaos. And I don't think people realize how much it takes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, every single artist I've talked to in Utah just hustles. Like seriously nonstop on the grind. I mean, like with artists, I mean, since we've really just built the artist community and really been integrated, I mean, I know to leave my afternoons and evenings open for artists because they work. Like they need meetings beyond their full-time job or their part-time job because
Right.
that's just how they roll. Because you guys hustle like crazy. It's so insane.
It's wild, but it's
Like
worth it.
right? I can't wrap my head around it. So how do you build your brand? How do you go about it? I mean, I know you're in business school now, like you're studying business, but like how did you start? Like initially, like how did you start building that brand of yours?
For me, it was YouTube covers that kind of started the brand, I would say. Because when I was younger, it was like the prime time of YouTube and like the OGs. And I was like, oh, okay, this is something I can do. So there was like a period of 3 or 4 years where I was consistently like once a week putting out just a cover from my basement. And so that kind of honed in like the sound or the look or whatever. Um, and so once I got that consistency, it was kind of easier to transfer that to other social media platforms or to have something to post about on other social media platforms, get people used to the idea of like, I do music and this is what you're coming to me for if you follow me type of thing.
Yeah.
And it's ebbed and flowed for me because social media is very mentally draining. So I kind of ebb and flow with the grind of social media. I prefer to stay a little bit more authentic than calculated and on a schedule.
I love that.
Um, so that's where I'm kind of at now, just trying to put out photos and content that I like, and that was more organic in how it was created. But I think those years of like mega consistency definitely helped and set the foundation for what.
Yeah, no, for sure. Do you still have your YouTube video, like your YouTube like cover thing going on or
Yeah, a lot
yeah?
of them. I don't consistently do covers now, but
Okay.
and a lot of them are privated now, but the good ones are still there. If you scroll back on the channel, now I like highlighting my original music videos
Yeah,
because they're higher quality. There's more put into it than just me in my basement.
love
Um,
that.
but covers are always fun, and TikTok has kind of now become where the covers go. You know what I mean?
Yes,
So that's
yeah.
where I can just spam with whatever I want.
Interesting. I mean, since, 2020 and COVID and the craziness, has your brand changed at all?
I think it's improved. I think a lot
I
of
love that.
things hung in the balance in COVID, and I had a forced time to get my mental health in check. And so just a year of being able to really like figure that out, put the time in, reroute that negative self-talk.
Yeah.
And so that I had more time and I was here, so I had more money than I did in LA. So I had uh, Sandra, Say to My Photography. She has taken like 40,000 photos of me, and we would just do like once a month, we would do a shoot and do like 4 looks. So little things like that that have helped my brand and get me
Oh,
excited about creating content. COVID actually allowed me to have the time to do, because in LA there was just not time or funds for me to dedicate a
Yeah.
consistent like anything. I was
Yeah.
kind of just hanging on. So that's what's been improved, at least in the brand.
Interesting.
I feel
Yeah,
like I've
that's way
found
cool.
myself a little more. I've done a lot of deconstructing and like I'm just
Yeah.
kind of more comfortable in my skin in general. And I think
Yeah.
that translates.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think a lot of people could have taken last year as I mean, I think a lot of people did. It like where it's just a breaking point, and unfortunately, some people were too deep and dark in there, and didn't climb up. And I mean, it's just so sad, but I mean, you've taken it in a very light way, and like, this is a good time for me to shine. This is a good time to work and build myself and my brand and who I am, and work on the things I love. And I admire everyone who came out of 2020 like that, because so many people didn't,
Hard.
so
Like
like,
it's such a
props to you.
weird, yeah, it's such a
Yeah.
weird experience to have to go through, and a lot of people's lives were flipped around. So
Yes. Yeah. It was hard. It was super tough. I mean, in the midst of that, and I want to talk a little bit about like funding yourself as an artist, because that is so hard. That is so difficult. And I can imagine last year was like a really tough period to do that.
yeah.
Um, Kind of, what does it look like as far as like your full-time job and like paying your bills and like making sure your brand's on point and promoting your stuff? Like, and this is like so crazy to think and wrap my head around, is the funding it takes to do the photography, to do like the studio production, the
Yeah.
recording, all of the they cost money. So like, what is
That's
it,
the
you know
thing.
what
I'm
I
like, this
mean?
isn't just me in my basement for free. Like this stuff to make it
Yeah.
sound good
Yeah,
and
right.
look
So
good.
what does that look like? What does the breakdown look like as far as cost, and how do you,
I mean,
manage that?
it's really hard because there's a lot of variance. It depends on so many things.
Yeah.
I have a lot of close friends who graduated from film school, so that makes videos a lot more accessible to me in terms of equipment and being able to figure things out. My
Mhm.
boyfriend graduated from film, so he will edit my videos. So it's a big time community effort in the beginning.
Yeah, okay.
Um, I think, I mean, photo shoots, they can range from
It's
a
crazy.
$100 to like $700, and so that on a consistent basis adds up. The production is where a lot of funding will go, especially in LA. Um, and I mean, it depends. When you're writing for film, that's what's kind of nice, is like usually it's free because it's for the project, and then if they let you use it for your own stuff afterwards, great.
Mhm.
But a lot of my thing right now is just self-funded. I have what I earn from the gigs that I'm doing in terms of movies and whatever, and I kind of just fuel that back into the pay publishing, and that's kind
Okay,
of what's
that's
running the
great.
show. But it's a lot of self-funding. I'm Marketing is my biggest hurdle in terms of like investors and that know-how, because I'm still just so new to it, and I have like no clue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm very much self-funded, just chilling. I'll try, like, there are certain brands who for videos, if you want placement, you can do that sort of thing to try and get some stuff subsidized here and there, or relationships, but that's kind
Interesting.
of where I'm at in terms of funding.
Yeah, I mean, so that's what, like, I really want to help. Like, this is why I love like talking to you and like to entrepreneurs in general, like creatives, is like, really the hurdle is money. A lot of it is so like money, and it's like, okay, you could like fly once you could get that money. It's like,
Well, and that's the thing, because where money really comes into play is marketing. You can have the best
yes,
stuff in the world, but you can only do so much with such a limited budget. And I read an article once. I don't want to quote it because I don't know if it's real, but well,
yeah,
it's real, but I don't know where it is, so I can't remember. But it
yeah,
just said like anyone could make it if you had $2 million, which is very unattainable. But like
yeah,
the point is the money is what drives the marketing, which is what drives the eyes. And then if your song is at least catchy or has a cool visual, it's a done deal at that point. And I mean, you
yeah,
might not have like a long, crazy career, but like the point is money is what gets the eyes on you.
sure.
And that's
Yeah.
what all the local artists are kind of hurdling with, is we're all just trying to like up our Spotify streams and like hustle, hustle, hustle to get an audience where there can be streaming money coming in so that we can fund that ship if we can't get outside investors.
Yeah, interesting. I think that industry and kind of that the way it works will change shortly. Like that problem
Yeah.
is so like I mean it's an international problem. It's a global
Right.
issue that is interestingly enough not it's overlooked. It's not like it's not looked at like a painting from an artist, which I think took a long time anyway to get to that point. So now it's time for musical artists to get the same recognition.
Well,
So
and it's hard because with streaming, as amazing as it is, that like there's just so much turnover now. You kind of have to output more than you ever did as an artist. It's not just, oh, I
yeah,
worked for my whole year on this album that I'm really passionate about and that flies me for 2 years and we can get sales on physical copies. You're getting such a smaller cut with
yeah,
streaming, and people tune out really fast. And the TikTok, they want their soundbite and then they want the next thing. So that's, I think a lot of people over the last like 5 years have had to really, really adjust to that.
yeah,
And that's where the industry is kind of a little bit stressed out, because even these major labels are like, all right, we got to kind of like up our touring or something, because like the money that could come in isn't. And that's where independent artists get a little slammed.
yeah. No, I could totally see that. And like, it's interesting because music online and streaming is evolving every year. I wouldn't even say every year, like 6 months. Every 6 months, I feel like audio in itself is
Yeah.
changing. Like the way it's used is changing, the way people view it is changing. I mean, now like TikTok it makes it so people have kind of shorter attention spans. They don't really care who like did it. It's just like the video in itself that people care about, not really like the audio as much. Like an
Right.
audio could go viral, but like people don't really care who owns that audio, like who is that voice. And so I could see that being very blurry and frustrating. And hopefully like it changes to be more like I own this. As an artist, do you just hope that you go viral when you're online, or do you just hope that you gain really like authentic, and I think this is obviously probably the most like I guess this is ideal, probably that you grow organically and that people download your albums and save it to your playlist. But I mean, now it's like you have to go viral for someone to replay your song. Like that Olivia, what's her last
Yeah.
name?
Olivia Rodrigo.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
where
she
like
really
people just
broke
like
records with that. Yeah.
insane. Like it went viral and just replay, replay, replay. People just replayed it everywhere. I mean, Rit Momney. I think I'm saying it
Yeah.
right. I mean, it was a cover, but
Yes.
I mean, it went viral. I mean, I think that's like the way people are going now is like wanting a viral single.
Yeah.
Is that what you're shooting for? Or do you just want to like keep just being you, authentically growing? Like what's kind of like your vision?
I think a combination of both.
Yeah.
Because I do think like the reason why artists are doing constant output on social media and TikTok as singers is so that if something hits, they have stuff ready so
Yeah.
that the eyes can kind of fall back on everything else and hopefully stay
Sure.
there. But at the same time, I do want people that are invested in me, not
Yeah.
just the
Yep.
one soundbite. So I want to stay authentic and stay just kind of cultivating an audience that cares about what I have to put out, and then
Yeah.
hopefully end up doing that on a larger scale. I don't want to be like a one single and then never heard from again type of person.
I love
But
that.
at the same time, that virality helps. So like
Yeah.
if I could get a single, what that does to me is, oh, I can reach out to people now and have some clout and kind of make my next move. So it's
Yeah.
less like I want to be viral for the sake of being viral and more like if that could help open doors, awesome. That's
I
the
love
goal.
that. I love that. Yeah, I love that. I think too many people want to go viral now, just like for the sake of going viral.
For
Like
clout or
just
for whatever, the numbers.
yes.
Everyone can fake their numbers these days.
Yeah.
That's what's funny.
Yeah.
And I think companies are catching on to where they care more about the engagement. Like if you have 2,000 followers, but you're getting 1,500 likes on every post. That's insane engagement. Or comments. Like, they care more about the turnover than someone who has 1 million followers but is getting 100 likes. So
I agree 100%. I think that's what it's so funny. It's constantly evolving. Like everything online, like it is just constantly evolving. People's perspectives is evolving as we are getting like used to these platforms. I think,
like,
there's always going to be an easy way to like fake who you are or whatever, but the truth always comes out. And so I think staying authentic is like the way to go. 100%.
well, and I think even with the TikTok generation, you kind of see it's less curated. It's less of
Yeah.
these super heavily filtered content. I mean, it's like at an all-time high, but at the same time an all-time low. It's kind of confusing where I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, TikTok's very organic. It's not super thought out. It's like I feel like YouTube evolved from organic to like very curated, and then we kind of went back. So it kind of ebbs and
Yes.
flows with all of that too. Where these Gen Zers are just like, oh, this is who I am. Like, I
Right,
just
right.
have to be like, it's just an iPhone photo, and I don't have to do a bunch of stuff to it.
Right, right.
Younger
Yeah,
creators, at least.
right. And there's a lot of pressure, I think, in the music industry and in the entertainment industry on like who to be. And like it probably gets confusing. I mean, what is like some things that like you just wish could be changed about the industry that is just like so insane?
I think I think two major things. One is not really possible, but I wish that talent was king. I wish that what mattered most was how good you were at what you did.
Yeah,
Because that's not the case. Right now, it's money or following. That's why you see all these TikTokers who are not singers putting out content, and that's awesome, and their content is still very valuable and still awesome, and it's still art. But I just wish that talent reigned because it would just make things easier for
yeah,
me to like try and be seen. Um,
exactly.
but the second thing would probably just be the some of the sexist undertones in the industry or the patriarchy of the industry because it's very much a like these big mega music men telling these artists what to do and thinking they know what sells, and that is objectifying you.
Yep.
There's a difference between empowering yourself and just the general objectification that's just on
So
female
true.
artists at all times. So I would love to take that away.
Just like in
It would
Nirvana.
make it easier because I'm like, look, if I wanted to be viral, I could just like
Yeah.
post my ass. You know what I mean? Like if I
Right.
wanted that, that's what I would do. And no shame to anyone who's doing that because there, like I
Right.
said, there's a difference between empowerment and doing it because you feel like it's what has to be done to get where you need to go
Yeah.
because of all the male gaze problems.
Yeah.
So that's my
Yeah.
take.
I could totally no, I feel that. I mean, I see it. I mean, I'm obviously not in the music industry, but I definitely see it. And
Yeah, that's like wide scale social media.
yeah, that's
Like,
like overall entertainment world. It's crazy. And I don't know. I think that if in yeah, in a very perfect world, it'd be nice that talent ruled over everything. And and especially there's so many and this is like on social media or whatever that I'm like, that's a really cool video. Like that person's super talented or
right.
whatever, but it's because like the algorithms whack and like all this like
Yeah.
stuff, and it's just like this algorithm like really is causing people to have low self-esteem, confidence, because it's this dumb like playing the game thing,
Right.
right? And so then it's like infuriating, and I could see that like
Yeah.
I could totally see that. And I get it, girl, but I know you got it. I know,
Thanks.
like there's like I know I feel it in my heart. But yeah, let's kind of scale back a little bit. I want to talk about what you're working on, and some upcoming singles. What's like something that we could um anticipate in the next coming months?
Yeah. So I don't know when this is coming out, but June 11th, I have a new single coming out, actually with all local artists and locally produced, which I'm really excited about. So it's with
Amazing.
Detzany, Evelyn. I think you guys know her.
Hmm.
And then an amazing rapper, C. Valenta. So the song's called Too Long. That comes out next week. Um, there's a video as well. So all of that's just working on that. And then I've got like 5 or 6 singles that I've been working on throughout the summer. So my goal is to just release every other month, every 3 months, kind of depending. So that's, if you want to see me, that's what you're going to expect. It's just new
Awesome.
music every few months.
That's exciting. That is super exciting. I'll watch out for that. How about any albums? Any albums in the work or?
We're going to do, with these singles that we're doing, we're kind of approaching it as a body of work in terms of cohesive sound of all these
Okay.
singles that I'm starting to work on in the next couple weeks. But I am not on the album grind right now. I think the independent artist kind of key right now is just single, put the budget into the single, try and get it everywhere, get as much content for that single as possible, and then move on to the next one. And I also kind of like playing around with vibes. I don't have a very solid, specific, consistent look or sound. I like kind of like, I am my voice, and whatever conveys the emotion of how I'm trying to feel is what I want to do.
I love
So I
it.
like channeling into different styles and different artworks and different whatever. So singles allow me to do that a little bit easier.
Cool. That's so fun. Okay, perfect. So a couple more questions.
Yeah.
What is sort of some advice you'd give to artists who are, wanting to pursue music as a full-time gig or, even part-time, but someone who's really just wanting to pursue music?
I would say just get it out everywhere. Get anything out anywhere. Start with TikTok, start with covers, something, anything. A piece of advice that same producer Brandon gave me when I first moved out to LA, he was like, don't do this industry unless you have to. If it's not the only thing that keeps you going, you're gonna have to make too many sacrifices. It won't be worth it.
I love that.
Which is
I love
intense, but it's
Yeah.
true. And it worked for me, especially like going out to LA. It's like, look, if this isn't what you live and breathe, like,
Don't do it.
there's an easier way to live. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think that's how people should live their life anyway, I think that's great advice.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So, how can those listening find you and support you?
Yes, I am everywhere on all streaming platforms. It's just Mykel. Social media, though, it's at Brittany Mykel. Mykel's my middle name. And then I think if everyone wants to join this text group, we're going to be doing some really cool things with this text group in terms of just cultivating a little mini community and having little jams and all of that. So if people want to text Mykel, Mykel, to, what is the number? 844-466-1966. That's how you can keep most up to date with me. We don't spam, but just that's where a lot of exclusive content from me is going to be coming from. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yay. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Mykel, for talking today. And really, I learned so much from you. And honestly, so thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It was awesome.
Thank you. We'll talk soon.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. If you'd like to learn more about STRT, visit STRT.com. Music featured on this podcast is by Mykel, her newest single, Sanity.